What's going on, everybody? Anthony here from Fireside Giants with a very special guest today, two-time Super Bowl champion, New York Giants defensive lineman Justin Tuck. Justin, how are you doing today?
You know what? I can't complain. The rain has stopped here in northern Jersey and the sun's come out, so I'm excited about the day.
Awesome, awesome. I'm here on Long Island as well. Just enjoying the weather and enjoying some time away. Was at Fanatics Fest this weekend. I saw you there, and I also know that you've been doing quite a few events lately. Tell us about this soccer clinic with Real Madrid that you recently participated in.
Yeah, Abbott and Real Madrid asked us to come out and put our our skills to the test. So I got the opportunity to come out of retirement and play the other football, which was a lot of fun since my wife and my two boys are avid soccer players and soccer fans. I'm a soccer fan. I'm not a soccer player at all. So my skill set coming into this was very poor. But again, getting an opportunity to work in these clinics with Real Madrid coaches, to kind of take the athletic ability of me, which is great, and put it into the soccer setting was phenomenal. And then, after I was sore and tired and had sweated a lot, getting the opportunity to refuel with Ensure Max Protein had us wanting to go back on the pitch and work some more. So it was fun. It was a lot of things that I hadn't got exposed to from an athletic perspective. It obviously makes me more of a fan of soccer, given the fact that you kind of see the skill set and the ability that a lot of these players have, which is, I think, is unworldly. So, yeah, it was just a lot of fun. And the best thing about it, honestly, was just, again, putting yourself and getting exposed to something you hadn't done with a lot of your friends and people you respect in the athletic and entertainment space. So, yeah, really, really enjoyed it.
Yeah, that sounds like a great experience. And one thing that you mentioned there, kind of cross training in a way, right? Playing more than one sport. You'll hear a lot of coaches as young athletes rise through the ranks through high school into college and maybe even into the professional level. They'll talk about how cross training and picking up multiple sports is really important. Where did you kind of see that overlap while you were doing some of this training with Real Madrid?
Yeah, I think for me personally, I grew up as one of those kids who played multiple sports just because there was nothing inside the house that I wanted to do. My mom and dad did a really good job of making inside the house very, very boring. So I think, I benefited personally from, like you said, playing multiple sports, getting different skill sets, and then figuring out how to tie it into football once football became the main thing. So when I think about soccer and just like the things that I wish I had got exposed to playing soccer was the endurance. Being able to run as long as these guys run at the speeds in which they run and having that type of endurance would have really, really helped me in my football career. And also just hand-eye coordination, using other muscles that you didn't necessarily use. Obviously, in football, you use muscles to run, but like the stop and go in soccer and the quick twitch muscles that get constantly used in soccer and the lateral movement in soccer, obviously, would have bode well for me playing football. So those are things that I think, as I kind of have been able to kind of consult or like coach some of the younger kids coming up in that world of playing multiple sports. That's one of the things that I love about soccer is just, conditioning, lateral movement, and just working on a lot of different things from a skill set perspective that, you didn't really get exposure to in football.
Yeah, definitely. Playing soccer, that can be energy draining, as can football. Really, all sports can be. But as you mentioned a little while ago, protein shakes, Ensure Max Protein. Why is that your go-to drink?
Well, I think it's a clean protein shake. It has 30 grams of protein, and it tastes phenomenal. I think a lot of times, some of the things that are good for you don't really taste well, and it's hard to kind of stay consistent with that. So I think that's three of the things that I love about Ensure. And again, like I said earlier, I used to be one of these athletes who was a spring chicken. I'm no longer a spring chicken, so I definitely need something like Ensure Max protein to help me kind of revive and replenish after the strenuous of a workout like that.
Definitely not a spring chicken anymore after a very long and successful NFL career. So I kind of want to get your opinion here on the New York Giants. Obviously, you were among two of the greatest pass rushes ever in the franchise's history, and playing alongside great defensive linemen such as yourself can open things up for your teammates. Now, the Giants this offseason brought in Brian Burns. They have Kayvon Thibodeau, they have Dexter Lawrence. If you could speak to how that kind of opens things up for each of those defensive linemen and why it's so important to have more than one piece on the defensive line to create such a great pass rush.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's funny. Me and Strahan was talking about something earlier, and he said something to me when I was playing. He goes, "Heavy is the crown," and what he meant by that was, when he left, I was going to be the guy who had the crown of being the captain and being I guess the guy that most offenses look at. I was really really blessed to have OC and JP um, alongside those years. But like heavy is the crown, and I think the way that crown gets lighter is having multiple people around you who can take some of that toll. Because if you're the only guy, no matter how dominant you are, no matter how great you are, offensive linemen can slide to you. They can chip the back, and they can really really take you out of a game if you're the only one. But having Dexter right there in the middle, who I think is one of the best D lineman, young D lineman in our league today, if not the best, to be honest with you, and having Kayvon on the other side, and having Brian on the other side, and then having the flexibility to be able to move those guys around. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if you don't see Kayvon and Brian on the same side in some packages to just throw off defenses. I know me and OC did a lot of that stuff. It's just moving around and just it makes it very difficult to set the line and set the strength of the line and know where that center is going or whether the back has to chip. I think it's a lot of pressure that goes on the offense. We can have those multiple people who can get out of the quarterback. So I say that, but I also issue a challenge to those guys and knowing that they have to have big years because there's no excuse. The amount of one-on-ones that those guys are going to see because of the talent we have around that D line, they got to go out there and perform and get out the quarterback at a tremendous level. And again, that's only going to make everything else good. If you got cornerbacks that have to cover 3+ seconds, offenses and quarterbacks and wide receivers are too good to pick those guys on the island that long. So it's just going to make the rest of the back end of our defense even better if we can get out to the quarterback and make those quarterbacks have to throw the ball quicker than they want to or take the sack. So.
Right. That versatility is really important. And like I said, that Giants defensive line, high expectations, kind of as you alluded to as well. That could be the reason that this Giants team exceeds expectations this year. But I want to get your perspective on that because you've been among some of the best Giants teams. You've won Super Bowls, but you've had some bad years with the team as well. You're on some losing teams. They're coming off of a pretty rough year. How do they bounce back? Well, maybe you disagree.
Well, you said I was on some losing teams. I think our worst year was 8-8. So
Okay, so maybe not losing teams. I had my facts wrong there. Thanks for fact
no,
checking
no,
me.
you're fine. I trust me. We considered 8-8 a losing year, so
That's
totally
good.
fine with
That's
it.
and that's a good mindset. And that's
Yeah,
kind of what I'm trying to dig down and grab here, that mindset, making sure that you're bouncing back from a season that you didn't reach your expectations, whether it was a
yeah.
losing year, a 500 year. What can the Giants do this year to get back to their winning ways?
I mean, one, you got to stay healthy. I mean, that's a crapshoot in this league. Most teams who end up playing in the playoffs or winning Super Bowls is typically the most healthy team. Uh, and obviously, our quarterback got hurt last year, so we need Daniel to stay upright, and that speaks volumes to what we've tried to do on the O line and getting the right guys in there that can keep him protected. But he also has to be smarter on some of the things that he does, as far as like, hey, when it's not there, get rid of the ball, don't take sacks. When he gets out of the pocket and runs, get down or get out of bounds. Those are the things that I think he'll be better at, and as he goes into another year. And like I saw a lot of good things from what he did the other night in Houston. Obviously, the 2 interceptions, those, the haters are always going to try to see those things and put so much more light to those than the other things. And trust me, I think Danny will be the first one to tell you that he wish he could have those 2 balls back and put them in different positions. One, he probably shouldn't have thrown the pass up the sideline to that Slate. I mean, what's the name? Derek intercepted. I mean, he missed that by maybe a yard, and that's just going to come better with his timing as he gets more reps in game situations. He hasn't played all year, so I'm not worried about that throw. So I think he made one real mistake in that game, first time back, getting used to his O line, getting used to the progressions, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm excited for that. And the reason why I'm harping on quarterback play is this is a quarterback driven league, so we got to have excellent quarterback play. But I am really excited about our D line and our defense. I think we upgraded our O line. And, from what I've been exposed to as far as being a New York Giant, we always played well when we had good D line play and good offensive line play. So getting back to that, I think is a must. And again, I think the coaching staff is under a lot of pressure to win. And if I know anything about that, if you think about the years when everyone was coming into the season saying Coach Coughlin's going to get fired, we won Super Bowls. So I keep all the chants around Dabo and whatever, and put a lot of pressure on him, because I know that guy, and he's gonna work his ass off to win games this year. And again, I think the team is better, but everybody else around us has gotten better too. So we got to go out and play well. But I am encouraged by what I see, and maybe it is another year until we get back to where we're going. But I do think we're climbing, whereas some other years, I didn't feel as though. So I'm not saying that, hey, this is the team that's going to go and make a deep playoff run, but I do think this is a team that's going to progress throughout the season as long as we stay healthy and have an opportunity to get to the playoffs.
I think you make a lot of great points there, particularly about winning in the trenches. And last Giants question that I'll ask you here is, you talked about Daniel Jones, expectations for him, blocking out noise, stuff like that. I saw you at Fanatics Fest this weekend in that panel with Eli Manning, and it's clear that you guys have a great relationship. And obviously,
Yep.
so much has been said about Manning's leadership on the field, off the field. As a defensive leader yourself, like you said, heavy was the crown. You took on that leadership role for the defense. What kind of synergy is there between the defensive leader, the quarterback? Why is it important for both of those guys to be in lockstep in their leadership?
It's very important because there's some times, like, why I think it worked with me and Eli is because I was comfortable being more the vocal leader, and he was probably more comfortable with being the guy who, you just watched him and he did everything the right way. If you just watched Eli and how he did things, his leadership was more of that. Showed up early, always in the meeting rooms, watching extra film, bringing more guys in. That was Eli's leadership style. My leadership style obviously was part of that as well, but like, I was okay with being confrontational when I needed to be confrontational with a player or whatever it may be. And I think it's important because, no matter what the leadership styles are, it was, at the end of the day, we were on the same page with how we wanted to progress. And that was obviously in coping steady with Coach Coughlin and our other leaders on that team as well. In the 2011-12 season, one of our main leaders was Antrell Rowe. He had come from a different place and had been, the Miami U vibe and just how they did things. But he was able to kind of take that and add it into the Giants' way. And I think that's what's so important because, there's players on our team. There's 53 guys that we have to figure out a way to pull the rope in the same direction. There's some guys who have been exposed to certain things and certain ways of doing it. And there's other guys who've been exposed to other ways of doing it as well. And if we couldn't figure out a way to how to be flexible enough and diverse in our leadership styles to be able to pull all directions into that one pot, then we wouldn't be successful. So you need guys who have, different ways of seeing things. And that goes back to like what I do now. I never want to be around a team of yes men or a team of Justin Tucks. I don't want the same guy or gal that looks at things the same way I look at it. I want different perspectives. And when you think about building a team and the leadership of a team, all of those things come into play as well. And Eli, again, was tremendous in just showing the route. Like, you couldn't ever say anything about Eli from the perspective of he did things the right way all the time. And when you do things the right way all the time and then go out and play well, it's very easy to follow. Even if you didn't like it, it's just easy to follow because the proof is in the pudding.
Yeah, that's great stuff. And I'll even comment on that and just say Eli Manning off the field, watching him as I was growing up as my hero, my quarterback, as a Giants fan, he shaped a lot of things for me and how I conducted myself and treating people with
Sure.
respect. And obviously you as well with your leadership and growing up playing sports. So before we wrap here, I'll just share a fun fact with you, actually, Justin. First
Okay.
professional athlete that I ever interviewed when I started journalism in 2019 was you at a Champion for Children's Gala. So here we are a few years later, a
Oh,
little bit of a
wow.
special moment
Nice.
for me. Yeah.
Well, listen, full circle moment. That's awesome. I'm glad I could be your first. Sure, I was probably at the time your worst too.
From my perspective, maybe, but I think I've sharpened my skill since then. But I remember that moment because I appreciated how kind you were. It was a little bit of an overwhelming moment for me as a young 18-year-old in that room. So many of these athletes that I grew up watching, and the way
Yeah,
that you just kind of kindly approached me, I think you could tell that I was anxious and being a bit
yeah.
overwhelmed. And I just remember that, and I do appreciate that. I wanted to say thank you for that.
My pleasure, man. It's funny. I actually like interviewing or being interviewed by by the non-seasoned vet. I guess the right word is because again, you guys look at things from a different and a fresher perspective. And this is no knock on any guy who's been in your seat for years and years, but they typically have something that works for them, and they follow that trend until they can't follow anymore. So it becomes somewhat mundane getting interviewed by guys who've been this for 30 years or whatever. So like I always appreciated those guys who came in and was new to it and just like because you didn't get the same questions, or if you got the same questions, they came from a different viewpoint. So it was more fresh and more. I actually think that you guys you're harder to read, or you in 2019 was harder to read because I can tell you right now, some of the interviews I've done in my career, I can tell you what this guy was going to ask, what this girl was going to ask, and that kind of gets boring. I like to have fun with these things because it can be that and is that. So I appreciate the fact that I was your first interview, and I hope I you know did pretty good on that.
Yeah, you've been amazing and amazing talking to you once again today. Before we wrap here, just want to ask you, where can fans get an inside look at that soccer clinic you did with Real Madrid?
Yeah, so like obviously there's a lot of things going around on social media. My IG page has clips and videos and pictures from some of these athletic feats that I was able to accomplish in partnership with Insured Max Protein. And so yeah, definitely just check out my IG page. I put links to different people that were there that you can go to their pages as well. And obviously being a part of it with Abbott and Real Madrid, yeah, you definitely can find out a lot more about what we went through and how we recovered from it on our IG pages. So
Awesome. Everybody, make sure to go check that out. Justin, can't thank you enough again for your time. Really do appreciate talking to you today.
my pleasure. Man. Have a great day, boss.
You too. Go Giants.
Go G, man.